Welcome back to the LETC-Channel. Today's topic is short story. A poor man was married to a beautiful woman. The man and his wife never quarreled. The husband loved his wife, and the wife loved her husband. They were very happy. However, this happy couple had a rich, handsome neighbor. He saw the poor man's beautiful wife and fell in love with her. "I want to marry her myself," he thought. Every day, while the woman's husband was working in the fields, the rich man visited the poor man's house. "You are a beautiful woman," he said to the poor man's wife, "but your clothes are old. Why doesn't your husband buy you new, pretty clothes? I'm sure he doesn't love you. If he loved you, he would buy you wonderful clothes. Divorce him and marry me. I will buy you beautiful new clothes, the best in the land. Then you will be the most beautiful woman in Ethiopia." At first, the woman didn't listen to the rich man, but he came to her house every day, repeating the same things. At last, she began to think, perhaps my neighbor is right. Why doesn't my husband buy beautiful new clothes for me? Perhaps he doesn't love me. That night, she said to her husband, "Look at me, husband. My clothes are old and ugly. I want new ones. Buy me some new clothes." Her husband smiled at her and said, "You don't need new clothes. You are the most beautiful woman in the world to me." She was angry. "Don't you love me?" she said. "If you love me, buy me a new dress." Her husband loved his wife and wanted to please her. "I have only a little money," he thought, "and I need a new plow. But I want my dear wife to be happy." The next day, he went to the market and bought a new dress for his wife. He brought it home, and she put it on. "Thank you, my dear husband," she cried. "Now I know that you love me." When the rich man came to see her again, she was wearing her new dress. "You see," she said to him, "my husband loves me very much. He bought me this beautiful new dress." The rich man shook his head. "But a good husband doesn't only give his wife new clothes," he said. "He gives her gold. Where's your gold necklace? Where are your gold rings? Why doesn't your husband give you those?" He opened a box and showed her some beautiful gold jewelry. "Look at these," he said. "Divorce your husband and marry me, and I will give all these to you." The woman did not listen to him. "Go away," she said. "I love my husband, and he loves me. We are happy together." But the rich man came again every day. Every day, he showed her the box of jewels. At last, she began to think, perhaps the rich man is right. Why doesn't my husband buy gold for me? Doesn't he love me? That day, she didn't make a fire or cook a meal. Her husband came home late after a long day in the fields. He was tired and hungry. "There's no dinner for you tonight," his wife said. "You don't love me." "What?" her husband cried. "But my darling, I love you more than anything. You are the most wonderful person in the world. Then why don't you buy me some gold jewelry?" she said. When a man loves his wife, he gives her a gold necklace and rings for her fingers. Her husband looked worried. "I spent money on her new clothes," he thought. "How can I find more for gold? I'll go and see my brother. Perhaps he will lend me the money. I must buy gold for my dear wife. I want her to be happy." The next day, he went to visit his brother. "Lend me some money, brother," he said, "and I will work for you in your field." "All right," his brother said, "but you must work hard. There are many stones in my field, and you must move them all away." Her husband agreed and took the money. He went to the market and bought some gold jewelry. Then he took it home to his wife. His wife was very happy. She put the necklace around her neck and the rings on her fingers. "Look at me," she said. Am I not beautiful? You're very beautiful, her husband said. If you are happy, I am happy. She put her arms around his neck. Thank you, my dear husband, she said. The next morning, the poor husband woke up before sunrise. He quickly prepared himself and headed to his brother's field, which was littered with stones. Determined to repay his debt, he thought to himself, I must work hard, start early, and finish late. This is the only way to clear my debt and provide for my wife. Meanwhile, his wife was at home, working cheerfully. She thought lovingly of her husband, he works so hard for me, and he gives me everything I need. Tonight, I will prepare a special meal to show him how much I appreciate him. However, their neighbor, the rich man, arrived at the house once again. Hello, he called out. Is anyone home? The wife stepped outside and greeted him. Ah, it's you again, she said. The rich man smiled slyly. I see you're still here. Tell me, did your husband give you anything new today? Can he truly provide for you the way you deserve? The woman straightened her posture and replied firmly, You are wrong about my husband. Yesterday, he bought me beautiful jewelry. He loves me deeply, and I love him. I will not leave him, and I certainly will not marry you. Hearing this, the rich man grew anxious. He thought, her husband loves her too much. If I want to win her, I must use a clever trick. Then, with a cunning tone, he asked, But can your husband perform miracles? Think carefully. If he truly loves you, he should be able to make miracles happen for you. Miracles? She repeated in disbelief. No, of course not. Only God can make miracles. No man can do that. But I can, the rich man declared. Because my love for you is greater than anything. Love has the power to create miracles. If you leave your husband and come to me, I will show you wonders beyond your imagination. Curious but skeptical, the woman challenged him. Then make a miracle for me right now. I can't, not yet, he replied. You must promise to leave your husband and love me first. Only then will I create miracles for you. The woman remained silent, and the rich man left. That evening, the poor man returned home, exhausted and hungry. His wife welcomed him warmly, brought him water to wash himself, and served him a delicious meal. As he ate, she watched him with affection. My poor husband, she thought. He works tirelessly for me and gives me all that he can. The rich man is foolish to think my husband could perform miracles. Such things are impossible. But the rich man was persistent. He came to her house every day, repeating the same promise. Did your husband perform a miracle for you yet? He would ask. Leave him, and I will create countless miracles for you. Over time, the woman's resolve began to waver. Doubts crept into her mind. One evening, when her husband came home, he noticed she was unusually quiet and sad. Concerned, he asked, Wife, dear wife, what is troubling you? Are you unwell? She shook her head and replied, No, I am not sick. I am just sad because you do not truly love me. What are you saying? Her husband exclaimed, shocked. You know how much I love you. I love you. I bought you new clothes. I bought you gold jewelry. You're the most precious thing in the world to me, said the husband. But you don't make miracles for me, his wife replied. Her poor husband was very surprised. Miracles? Of course, I can't make miracles, he said. Why do you want a miracle? Who gave you that idea? Our neighbor came to see me today, the woman said. Love makes miracles, he said. If a man loves a woman, he will make miracles for her. Her husband was very worried. That wicked man wants to take my wife, he thought. All this trouble comes from him. First, she wanted new clothes. Then, she wanted gold jewelry. And now, she wants a miracle. What can I do? If I don't make a miracle, perhaps my wife will leave me and marry him. The next day, he went to work in his brother's field, walking slowly. I must pray, he thought. Only God can help me now. He looked up to heaven. O Lord God, he prayed, please help me to make a miracle. I love my wife, and I want to keep her. Don't let this rich man take her from me. He worked all morning, moving stones from his brother's field. At midday, he sat down under a tree to rest. To his surprise, a man was already sitting there. Who are you? The poor man asked. I am a wizard, the man replied, and I have a gift for you. Look, here are 2 sticks. They can make miracles. Miracles? The poor man was astonished but also overjoyed. What kind of miracles? If you touch a person with the first stick, the wizard explained, they will become a donkey. The poor man immediately thought of the rich man and smiled. A donkey? That's very good. And what about the second stick? What does it do? If you touch the person with the second stick, they will return to being a human, said the wizard. The poor man took the sticks and jumped to his feet. Oh, thank you, my friend, he exclaimed. I prayed to God, and he sent you to me. Now I can keep my wife and punish my enemy. He ran home as fast as he could. Wife, he called out. Come here, I'm going to make a miracle. His wife came out of the house, looking curious. A miracle? She asked. What kind of miracle? Look, said her husband. He touched her with the first stick. At once, she transformed into a donkey. She lifted her head and tried to speak, but no words came out. Instead, all she could say was, hee-haw, hee-haw. She could only say, hee-haw. Her husband then touched her with the other stick, and at once, she became a woman again. Husband, that's wonderful, she said. It's a real miracle. How did you do it? I prayed to God, her husband replied, and he helped me. And now, wife, I am going to punish my enemy. Your enemy? Said his wife. Who is that? You know my enemy, her husband said. He was looking at her, and his smile was gone. It's the rich man, our neighbor. He comes to our house when I'm working in the field. He gives you bad ideas. Ask your husband for new clothes, he says. Ask him for gold jewelry. Ask him for a miracle. Am I right? Did our rich neighbor give you all these ideas? His wife said nothing. And did you listen to him? Her husband continued. His wife looked down, ashamed. I'm sorry, she said. It's true, isn't it? He said. He said all those things. He wanted you to divorce me and marry him, and you listened to him. And do you want to divorce me and marry him? Her husband asked. She looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. No, dear husband. I want to stay with you forever, and I will never listen to him again. Then take this stick, her husband said, handing her the first stick. And touch the rich man with it. He gave his wife the first stick but hid the second one in the roof. The next day, he went to work. Soon, the rich man arrived at the woman's house. Well, he asked her, can your husband make miracles yet? Yes, she said, and she touched him with the first stick. At once, the rich man changed into a donkey. Now, said the woman, you can go to work and help my dear husband. She took the donkey out to the fields, where her husband was working. He was moving stones from his brother's field. Ah, he said, a donkey. Now I can finish the job quickly. From that day on, the poor man gave the donkey many heavy loads to carry. The donkey carried stones away from the fields, took sacks of teff to the market, and brought flour and coffee back home. For many years, the donkey worked for the poor man. The poor man was no longer poor. The donkey helped him become richer. One day, the poor man looked at the donkey. It was tired and old. It stood still, its head bent down. The poor man felt sorry for it. He went into his house and brought out the second stick. Then he touched the donkey with it, and at once, the rich man stood there. But he was no longer a handsome young man. He was old, his back was bent, and he was very, very tired. "You tried to take my wife away from me," the poor man said. "That was wrong. Go home now, and don't look at other men's wives again." The rich man went away and never came back. But the poor man and his wife lived happily together for many more years.